All right, so for this explainer on the book Zazen, we're diving into a chapter called Sitting in Forgetfulness. And this one is so important because it gets at a really deceptive trap in meditation, a state that feels amazing, like you're making progress, but is actually a total dead end. Let's break down what that really means.
Right off the bat, the author draws a line in the sand with this quote. It really sets the stage for the whole chapter. You know, it's all about the massive difference between just talking about spiritual practice and actually doing the honest, diligent work that it takes.
And he really doesn't mince words about what that work looks like. He uses this incredible metaphor. A real practitioner isn't some weekend warrior. They're like elite special forces, forged through super intense, methodical training. So this isn't some casual hobby. It's a path of serious discipline. Okay, so what's the first major hurdle these special forces have to clear? The author calls it unaware emptiness. And that's the heart of what we're talking about today. This huge trap that can fool even the most sincere people into thinking they're getting somewhere when they're not.
So what is this unaware emptiness anyway? Well, it's that pleasant, blissful state where you kind of forget yourself and hours just fly by. Sounds great, right? But here's the big warning. It's basically spiritual quicksand. You're not asleep, but you're not really awake either. And in that state, no real insight can happen. You're just stuck.
And you can see the difference so clearly on this chart, right? On one side, you have unaware emptiness. It's blank, it's stagnant. You lose time and you get nothing out of it. The real goal, mindful dhyana, this deep meditative focus, is the complete opposite. Your state is aware and clear, you're totally present, and that's where the potential for real insight actually lives.
And listen, this wasn't just some abstract idea for the author. He fell right into this trap himself. He would sit for hours and then get up with no memory of what happened. He said it was like waking up from a dream that wasn't quite a dream. And the crazy part? At first, he thought this was it. He thought he'd achieved something amazing. But his master knew better. And this is where the story really takes a turn. The solution wasn't some long philosophical chat. It was a direct, practical test. It was time to move from just theory to real, hands-on action.
The master's diagnosis was so simple, but so profound. He told him that real meditation has to have awareness. You have to know that you're meditating. The key point is this. You have to be able to feel and clearly recognize everything coming in through your senses. The goal isn't to zone out. The goal is to wake up.
So, the master's prescription for this? It was intense. First, meditate in a side hall. Second, you have to chant constantly. Third, you have to tap a wooden fish constantly. And fourth, if that tapping ever stops, anyone nearby had to wake him up. It was basically a system designed to make drifting into forgetfulness totally impossible.
But even with this whole setup, that habit of zoning out was deep. At first, he'd still fall into that state. He'd be sitting there, perfectly upright like a statue, hand on the fish, stick in the other, but inside, totally gone. The lights were on, but nobody was home.
Okay, so this is where the real journey begins. Getting over this deep-seated habit wasn't a quick fix. It was a process, a slow awakening that could only happen through just relentless, diligent practice.
Now look at how this progressed over time. It's fascinating. For the first couple of weeks, he kept falling out of it and had to be woken up. Then, by weeks 3 and 4, he could keep it going for 3 hours straight. But then something else popped up. His tapping and chanting started speeding up, revealing this subtle, hidden anxiety. It took another 2 weeks to finally lock in a steady, even pace, with full awareness for the whole 3 hours.
So once he got a handle on awareness while sitting still, his master leveled up the training. He had to take the wooden fish outside and start practicing while walking. That's a much more complicated task, right? You have to integrate mindfulness with movement and everything happening around you. And just look at all the layers of awareness he had to juggle at once. He had to be aware of what he was seeing, aware of the chanting, aware of his hand hitting the fish, aware of the sounds he was hearing, and aware of his feet on the path, all at the same time. This is the polar opposite of that blank, zoned-out state he started in. So this whole personal story, right? It's really just a perfect illustration of one huge universal principle. When it comes to spiritual growth, real hands-on practice will always beat empty talk. And to really drive this point home, he tells this amazing story about another master, the famous Venerable Sui Yun.
After listening to some visitor go on and on with all this flowery debate, Sui Yun just cut right through it all with this challenge. He basically said, "Look, words are cheap. Let's see what you can actually do."
And the result of this little sit-off? It wasn't even close. The debater, the guy with all the fancy words, couldn't even make it half a day. Venerable Shuyun, who was deep in a real practice, sat for 7 days straight. The proof was in the practice, not the performance.
So, after all that, what can we actually take away and apply to our own efforts? Let's boil this down to the key lessons.
All right, here's what to remember. First, you've got to watch out for that unaware emptiness. It feels good, but it's a trap. Second, real progress comes from consistent, diligent work. No shortcuts. Third, true awareness isn't passive. It's active, it's multisensory, and it's focused on right now. Fourth, test what you think you know through actually doing it, not just talking about it. And finally, a really good teacher gives you practical, actionable things to do, not just abstract ideas.
And that really leaves us with one final crucial question to ask ourselves. When you sit down to practice, whatever it is you do, is it a tool for building genuine moment-to-moment awareness? Or has it maybe become a subtle, comfortable way to just escape? The answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.